This was another one of those VHS cassettes that I watched so many times that the tape actually snapped. So you can imagine how happy I was when I came across a DVD copy in a music store years later, and I can promise you, my friends, that DVD hasn't stopped running. This classic British film is about 5 men who end up in a vault together and share their strange stories and their nightmares among each other. In Midnight Mess, Harold tracks down his sister in a small village for some personal business, but first he visits the local restaurant for a nice dinner. He gets told that the restaurant is being closed because something bad happens in the dark. Being very confused, he heads back over to his sister's place. And wouldn't you know it, he kills his sister because she recently inherited all the money from their father, and he wants the money. Now afterwards he returns to the restaurant that is now opened, but he's surprised when he sees that there's new patrons there, and also a new head waiter. He notes that the food tastes very strange, but when he realizes that he's dining on blood, he's restrained by the patrons, who are indeed vampires, and it turns out that his sister is also a vampire. And wouldn't you know it, Harold becomes the meal of the day, as they start feasting on him. In the next story, Arthur marries Eleanor, and it's clear from the start that there's a lot of tension in this household. Arthur is very uptight about neatness, and fights with Eleanor constantly about her not being as neat as he is. This comes to an end when Eleanor starts panicking about messing up the carpet and damaging the wall. Now knowing that Arthur would be furious, she tries to fix her mistakes, but she messes up even more. This is where she's confronted by Arthur in the basement. He keeps on parading her about not being neat, and you can kind of see the cheese slipping off the cracker here. Eleanor picks up a hammer and she kills Arthur. I say well done. At the end of the episode, we see that Eleanor has hacked up her husband, her late husband, and packed him into bottles very neatly, and she's very proud of her handiwork. In the next story, a magician and his wife travel to India for some new inspiration for their magic act. Now after he humiliates a fellow street magician, he comes across a woman with an extraordinary rope trick. Now knowing that this trick would make him rich, he offers to purchase the trick from the woman, but she refuses. So Sebastian moves on to his next phase. He invites the woman to his apartment to show the trick to his wife, but there's some more plans here, as he kills the woman and steals the trick. Being very excited, he and his wife try out this trick, and at first it seems like it's working. But unfortunately, as his wife is climbing the rope, she disappears into thin air. And pretty soon, the rope attacks Sebastian, and he's killed as well. And in the final scene, we see the street magician and his assistant looking up to the window where Sebastian is hanging by his neck. In the next tale, Maitland finds out that crime doesn't pay in any way. He sets up this elaborate scheme where he's going to fake his death and collect his insurance money together with his partner. Now, unbeknown to Maitland, his partner is not planning to help out in this, as he's going to leave him inside a coffin to suffocate to death and collect the money for himself. Now, this is where things get a little bit weird. Maitland has died, and he's in the coffin. Now we have 2 medical students who's looking for a cadaver to work on for their medical exams. So they pay the gravedigger to dig up a freshly buried body and purchase it from him. Unbeknowing, the coffin that they're digging up is Maitland. So what happens? Maitland comes flying out of the coffin, scares the students to death. They run into the road. The partner crashes his Rolls Royce into a tree, and the gravedigger comes running out and he tells the guys, "You can come and collect your body." Inadvertently, he killed Maitland without even knowing what the hell was going on. So yeah, my friends, this proves that crime does not pay. And from here we move on to the last and most lengthy story. It's about a painter who lives on a remote island, who lost all his money because his business partners told him that his work was inferior and useless, and that they would never make any money off his paintings. Only to hear from an old friend that this is not the truth, as his paintings has been selling for a lot of money and has been highly praised by the same men who ripped it apart. The painter is very angered by this, and he goes to a voodoo doctor to obtain a curse to seek revenge on these men. So from now on, whatever he paints becomes alive and can cause harm. He packs up his belongings, including a self-portrait, and he heads back to London. He confronts the men, but they just laugh off his ideas and think that he's crazy, and think nothing of his threats. Now soon after this, he creates 3 paintings of the 3 men, and he ruins their lives in very original and strange ways. He blinds one of them, he cuts off the hands of another, and he makes the last man shoot himself. Unfortunately for the artist, he forgot that he locked his own self-portrait in a safe, and because of this, he's now busy suffocating, so he rushes back to his apartment in London to get the portrait out of the safe. He remembers that he left some evidence at the last killing site, and he rushes back to the office building. The roof painter knocks over a can of paint stripper and it falls on the self-portrait, making the artist fall in front of a truck, therefore killing him. The men in the vault all look a little bit rattled, but they just laugh everything off as just stories and crazy dreams. A door opens and the men venture outside, and it becomes very clear that these men are reliving their sins and are now caught in limbo for the rest of eternity. Well, that's been my review of The Vault of Horror, my friends. British horror movies always had that something special, and they still make me happy to this day, especially the old classics. Again, thank you for watching, and as always, my friends, keep well, be safe, and enjoy the fear.